The Bible has impressive but terrifying creatures that show God's power and plan. From the locusts of Abaddon, the dragon, the Leviathan, and the Nephilim. What do these creatures symbolize and signify in Christianity? How do they relate to God's judgment and salvation through Christ? How do they connect to God's judgment and salvation? In today's video, I will explore 9 most terrifying monsters mentioned in the Bible. Stay tuned. Number 1. The locust of Abaddon. This creature appears in the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible. It has a human face, a woman's hair, lion's teeth, wings, iron breastplates, and a tail with a scorpion's stinger. It is sent by the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon, meaning destroyer. The locusts torment people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads for 5 months. They are part of the 5th trumpet judgment that announces the end times and the coming of Christ. The locust of Abaddon symbolizes several things in Christianity. Some scholars see it as a literal manifestation of demonic forces that will attack God's people during the tribulation period. Others see it as a symbolic representation of false teachers or apostates who will deceive many people with their signs and wonders. Still, others see it as a metaphor for various kinds of persecution or suffering that Christians will face from both human and spiritual enemies. Number 2. Daniel's beasts. The 4 beasts in the book of Daniel are kingdoms that rule over different parts of the world according to God's plan. They are based on Daniel's vision of 4 beasts coming out of the sea, each different from the others. The first beast is like a lion with eagle's wings, representing Babylon. The second beast is like a bear raised on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth, representing Media Persia. The third beast is like a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, representing Greece. And the fourth beast is terrifying and powerful with iron teeth and 10 horns, representing Rome. The 4 beasts also have another horn that comes up among them and uproots 3 horns before it. This horn represents Antiochus IV Epiphanes, a king who persecuted Jews and desecrated their temple in the 2nd century BC. He was also known for his arrogance and blasphemy against God. The 4 beasts symbolize different aspects of human history and destiny according to God's sovereignty. They show how God uses human rulers to accomplish his purposes, and how he judges them when they rebel against him or oppress his people. They also show how God protects his faithful remnant from harm, and how he will ultimately establish his kingdom through Christ. Number 3. The Ophanim. The Ophanim, or the wheels, is another heavenly being appearing in the vision of the prophet Ezekiel. They are described as having the appearance of wheels intersecting each other, covered with eyes, and moving along with the 4 living creatures that are the cherubim. They are also associated with the spirit of living creatures and the glory of God. When the living creatures moved, the wheels beside them moved. When the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels also rose. Wherever the Spirit would go, they would go, and the wheels would rise along with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the creatures moved, they also moved. When the creatures stood still, they also stood still. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose along with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Ezekiel chapter 1 verses 19 to 21. These beings represent God's sovereignty and omnipresence and symbolize the wheels of God's chariot or throne. God is everywhere, and we can never truly understand his omniscient nature. Number 4. The Behemoth. The book of Job describes the giant as a vast, reed-dwelling giant that is beyond powerful for anyone to control but God. Depending on how you read it, it could drink an entire river, and its potency was significant enough to warrant mentioning it 4 times in a single line. Aside from big and strong, the closest thing we get to a descriptor is a line about how his force is in the navel of his belly, which means that contrary to popular belief, whatever Job was describing was most likely not a dinosaur because animals that hatch from eggs are typically short on navels. Behemoth is a metaphor for chaos. It is most likely an absolute beast. Even though numerous of its physical characteristics, most notably the tail, like a cedar, do not correspond to either species, the beast is frequently categorized as a hippopotamus or elephant. According to most young Earth creationists, Behemoth is a dinosaur similar to the Apatosaurus or Diplodocus. It is also said to feed on grass like an ox and to lie under the lotus plants and in the marshes. Look at Behemoth. which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. What strength it has in its loins, what power in the muscles of its belly. Its tail sways like a cedar, the sinews of its thighs are close-knit, its bones are tubes of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. It ranks first among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword. Job chapter 40 verses 15 to 19. Number 5. Demons. These spiritual miscreants have no other purpose than the torment of men both here and in the afterlife. Demons are evil spirits that oppose God and his people and seek to harm, deceive, and tempt them. They are also called unclean spirits, evil spirits, or devils. They are believed to be fallen angels who rebelled against God and followed Satan, the chief of the demons. And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. Jude 1 verse 6. Demons can possess people and animals and cause various physical and mental afflictions. They can also perform false signs and wonders and promote false doctrines and idolatry. They are spirits of demons performing signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for the battle on the great day of God Almighty. Revelation chapter 16 verse 14. But you can rest assured that demons are subject to the authority of Jesus Christ, who has defeated them by his death and resurrection. Number 6. The death angel. Still on the subject of doom, the death angel is a term that is sometimes used to refer to an angel that executes God's judgment on the wicked by killing them. The Bible does not name or describe a specific angel as the death angel, but it does mention some instances where God sent angels to destroy people or nations. For example, in the Exodus story, God sent an angel to kill the firstborn of the Egyptians as the final plague. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner, who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. Exodus chapter 12 verse 29. Another example is in the book of 2 Kings, where an angel of the Lord killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers who besieged Jerusalem. That night the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. 2 Kings chapter 19 verse 35. However, these angels are not necessarily the same or exclusively assigned to killing. They carry out God's will and justice as his messengers and servants. Number 7. Nephilim. According to Genesis chapter 6, the sons of God, typically regarded as fallen angels, observed the daughters of men. The Nephilim, a race of savage giants, were the offspring of angels who married human women. In terms of size, they are described in numbers as being more significant than humans. According to the Book of Enoch, an apocryphal religious text that did not reach the final cut of the Bible, they were around a mile high. They are also thought to depict the corruption God felt forced to destroy during the Great Flood. The Nephilim are one of the most bizarre and terrifying monsters described in the Bible. In conclusion, the Nephilim were almost certainly the offspring of demons and human women. Genesis chapter 6 verses 1 to 4. The book of Numbers also mentions the Nephilim. However, at this stage in Israel's history, the term Nephilim was most likely used to refer to any towering, fearsome individuals, such as those seen in Canaan at the time and elsewhere referred to as giants. Number 8. Leviathan. The Leviathan is the second monster described in the passage from the book of Job about Behemoth. If the Behemoth allows for a lot of visual interpretation, the Leviathan is unusually cryptic, making the Behemoth appear obscure. Job goes into extreme detail, describing every horrible aspect of this creature's anatomy. The Behemoth is described as the beast of the land, but the Leviathan believes water to be his domain. It is covered in muscular folds and possesses a double-thick armor plate running down its back. It breathes forth flames. It has an impenetrable skin that is as hard as stone. The Leviathan is a creature that appears in several books of the Bible. Thus, the Leviathan has different descriptions depending on which book it appears in. Still, it resembles a vast sea monster or crocodile with scales or plates covering its body. It has sharp teeth that can bite through anything and fire-breathing abilities that can cause destruction. It lives in deep waters or rivers where no one can reach or capture it quickly. The Leviathan signifies different things in the context of the Christian faith and its destruction by God. Some scholars see it as a symbol of creation itself, or an aspect of creation that reflects God's power and majesty over nature. Others see it as a symbol of Israel's enemies or oppressors whom God will defeat at some point in history or prophecy. Still, others see it as a symbol of Satan himself, or an aspect of Satan that represents evil forces that oppose God's will. The Leviathan will be destroyed by God at some point in history or prophecy when he judges all evil forces on earth and establishes his kingdom through Christ. Some scholars believe that this destruction will happen at Christ's second coming, when he returns to earth with power and glory to defeat all enemies, including Satan himself. Still, others believe that this destruction will happen at some point before Christ's second coming, when there will be signs and wonders indicating that God's judgment has begun. Number 9. Dragons. The dragon is the next stop on our journey through mythical biblical beings with hazy, maybe medieval origins. The dragon in the book of Revelation is a creature that appears in the last book of the Bible, a vision from Jesus Christ, given to him by God the Father. The dragon is identified as Satan, the enemy of God and his people, who lead the whole world astray. In other parts of the Bible, the dragon is also called the devil, the serpent, and the ancient serpent. The dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns, which may represent his power and authority over different regions and kingdoms. The dragon also has 7 crowns, which may indicate his pride and arrogance. The dragon's tail sweeps a third of the stars out of the sky and flings them to the earth, which may symbolize his influence over false religions and teachers. The dragon stands in front of the woman who is about to give birth to a son, who is Jesus Christ, and tries to devour her child. This shows his hatred for God's plan of salvation through Christ. However, he fails to do so because God protects his child with his blood and his word. The dragon then wages war against God's people in heaven and on earth, but he is not strong enough, and he is hurled down to the earth by Michael and his angels. This shows God's victory over Satan and his rebellion against him. The dragon in Revelation symbolizes several things in Christianity. Some scholars see it as a literal manifestation of demonic forces that will attack God's people during the tribulation period before Christ's return. Others see it as a symbolic representation of false teachers or apostates who will deceive many people with their signs and wonders. Still, others see it as a metaphor for various kinds of persecution or suffering that Christians will face from both human and spiritual enemies. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning more about some of the most terrifying monsters mentioned in the Bible. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Also, feel free to comment below and share your thoughts and opinions on these creatures.